All right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Welcome everybody to the program. We got a full house already. We got Deacons of Reality in the house. We got Twin Pyramid in the house. Mellow Cap we got in the house. All right. Peace and blessings. Earth Angel Remix in the house. Peace and blessings. All right. Sorry, we are running a little bit behind, but we are definitely here now. We got Brother Willie Rivers in the house. Peace and blessings, Brother Willie. Peace and blessings. Let's get it. Mellow Cap says, let's go. All right. So today's topic, what does goddamn America really mean to black men? What does that really mean to black men? We're going to look at some different scenarios of actual events that have taken place and see, does the term goddamn America, does it even fit in with what the reality really is? Here we're going to be talking about how black men view it. This is a very important subject, and especially when we get into the different facets of examples that we'll use to show the behavior of America. And then really, has God damned America? And since we say that the black man is God, has he damned America? Or is he in love with America? Let's talk about it. So, Doc, it was Brother Jeremiah Wright who made that statement so attractive and loving. And that statement went around the world. But we got to ask, is it really true? Is it a true statement? I mean, is the things that he listed in his message actual facts? Or is it something that need to be pushed aside, moved out the way, because it's not in what they call, quote unquote, modern time? What's your thoughts on that, Doc?
For me, before I do anything with that, I would ask this question. It's kind of a question that I would kind of present to you and our audience. And it is quite simply, what did Wright actually say? Did Wright say, God damned America? Or is Wright saying, God damn America?
I think you're saying...
And those are two very different statements. Which one do you lean towards that he said?
I lean towards goddamn America.
God damn America.
Right.
Okay. For me, when we're talking about this idea, and I deal with this often with people. I'll just use that term, people. The idea of America, what it actually is America, what is a nation, what is a nation state? And I find that our people are allowing even the idea of America to be controlled and handled and defined by white folk, and some of the worst white folk. When they're talking about the concept of America, they're talking about these stringent, bigoted, highly racist, slave-owning white folk, what we term white folk in this nation. I don't think that that's the only voice, though, because I know different. I know John Brown. I know white abolitionists. I know white radicals. We talked last show, the show we talked about with Black August. We talked about these radical white boys. So, do I think that Wright is correct about God damning America? I believe that God has passed judgment and is damning a particular segment of this nation. And that hell and brimstone that they're destined to experience is going to be felt by all who are in close proximity. Do I believe that the nation is damned? Um, Totally no. But the leadership and the way that we've gone, the absence of righteous priorities, leads us to have a certain segment in our mix who are going to be damned. Do I think that they encompass all of America? No. I guess it's a long way of saying no. But I yield, brother.
Yes, sir. So do you think that these quote unquote, and I'm gonna say quote unquote good or decent white folk, where are they? What are the works that they've done? We know what was done yesterday, but where are they for today? That would give them that status of being quote unquote good, I guess. Or
I think that
would you define them as good?
Say that again.
Would you define them as good? How would you define them?
It's a case by case basis. Let me say that first as to who I would define. This is almost like a trial that one would have to judge people. As a collective, no, I don't trust that. I need to truly sift through to be able to call someone quote unquote good. And even within that sifting process, I'm going to be grading on a curve because there's no way that you can grow up even Black in this nation and consume all the images, all the thoughts that are out there, and ultimately end up loving Black folk. It takes some work to maintain or reestablish your humanity. And we see those who don't do that work on a daily basis. But where are they? I would argue that because I do a lot of things with labor unions. I do a lot of things with what many people would refer to those who are on the left. They're so far on the left that they could reach and literally touch right. They have their own subculture. They have their own media apparatus, just like we do. Many people would look at who's Sukihana. Suki is all over the news, all over what they would term mainstream. I would refer to it as popular culture outlets. Same thing with Lizzo. Same thing with who's the brother Future. Those types of cats. You have in there to the side sits us. Okay, regular, strong, reliable, with a different message, a message about uplifting not just Black America, because if Black America is uplifted, the rest of this nation that we're in, world that we're attached to, will be also unburdened with some of the social ills and what have you that come from Black America. They have a white equivalent of that. Okay, when we talked about the Symbionese Liberation Army. They weren't all Black, but there are some those people actually do exist. However, be very clear, those people have been incubated and have been forged in a crucible of white world supremacy. So even with them being more left-leaning or non-traditional in regards to thoughts, their ideas, and what have you, they still get that whiteness on them. And that comes at a cost, because the wages of whiteness are significant, unmistakable, and impossible to avoid. And I yield, brother.
All right, all right. I want to go to Reverend Wright and show his video and come back and discuss it.
Yeah, before you do that, what is the brother's name? Sundiata Acoli. Okay, Sundiata Acoli was a Panther, member of the Black Liberation Army, who had been arrested, and Sundiata just got out this year. Just the same with Mutulu Shakur. And so we had this meeting that we had all been called together by Brother Coates of Black Classic Press. So we had this mass call where we were trying to get people to sign petitions and to make calls and things like that on Sundiata's behalf. You know, he apparently lost his vision, was suffering from cancer, and their rules said that he should have been released already. But we were pressing them for a mercy releasing. And we're in this Zoom thing, and I'm talking about there's hundreds, there's, you know, of people, of Black nationalist-minded people there. Jeremiah Wright was one of the people that was there on the call, you know, lending his support, lending his help, you know. So, you know, for me, I tip my hat to individuals like that who remain grounded with the people and have never become too busy to aid the people. I just wanted to say that about Wright. So I yield.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc.
Where governments lie, God does not lie. Where governments change, God does not change. And I'm through now. But let me leave you with one more thing. Governments fail. The government in this text, comprised of Caesar, Quirinius, Pontius Pilate, Pontius Pilate. The Roman government failed. The British government used to rule from east to west. The British government had a Union Jack. She colonized Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and Hong Kong. Her navies ruled the 7 seas all the way down to the tip of Argentina in the Falklands. But the British government failed. The Russian government failed. The Japanese government failed. The German government failed. And the United States of America government, when it came to treating her citizens of Indian descent fairly, she failed. She put them on reservations. When it came to treating her citizens of Japanese descent fairly, she failed. She put them in internment prison camps. When it came to treating the citizens of African descent fairly, America failed. She put them in chains. The government put them on slave quarters, put them on auction blocks, put them in cotton fields, put them in inferior schools, put them in substandard housing, put them in scientific experiments, put them in the lowest paying jobs, put them outside the equal protection of the law, kept them out of their racist bastions of higher education, and locked them into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America? No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America, that's in the Bible, for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America, as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
Let's get ready because the next pan.
So there we have what Reverend Wright laid out. And, you know, what he laid out was actual facts. It wasn't anything made up. And one of the things that inspired this conversation today, Doc, is that, you know, you watch TV, the local news or whatever, and things happen. And, you know, it's one thing when they interview a Black woman to get, you know, what happened, you know, what do you think? What's this, what's that, what, you know, but damn. When you interview a Black man and he don't know how to talk, he don't know how to say what need to be said, and he's like, you know, want to walk on eggshells when you finally get this chance to express yourself. You're afraid to express yourself, or you don't know how to say what really need to be said. You have an idea of what has happened to us, but you don't know how to put it in words. You don't, you know, you're rambling because you're scared, because you're talking to the enemy. And I'm watching this, and it's like he's going back and forth, asking him, and the man's scared to say what he need to say. Like he's standing next to God. Like this cracker don't know what America, like he don't know what white folk have done to us that would give us. Why are you angry? Why do you see what happened in Montgomery as something to praise about? Why are you angry? What the hell you mean, why? And we would think that in this day and time, you could say exactly why you're angry.
I bristle at that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that we have to create a delineation, a separation between the hesitation or cowering away from telling the truth versus the inability to tell the truth. We didn't always know what we know now. If you were to shove a mic in the face of Malcolm X after he's gotten knowledge of self, he's very articulate, he's very aware, very educated about what is going on, and is emboldened enough to be able to speak what they refer to as speaking truth to power. Do that with Detroit Red. Hell, do that with Malcolm Little. So much of it boils down to the absence of preparation, and that falls at the feet of that person. It falls at the feet of our educational system, our homes, our race, our inability, our failure to educate our own. Okay, despite all the signs that we need to do that. Okay, so I get what you're saying about the inability to number one, have a grasp upon the issue and the eloquence to not embarrass the race in regards to what needs to be said in addressing it when you get your one moment. And there's a great argument that could be made. And I know this to be true because this actually happened to me. We have a thing at Ohio State called the Block Party. It's the African American cultural experience type thing where we would all get together, and the main street that runs through Ohio State is High Street. We used to have it there before they moved it all the way off campus to West Campus, to what we refer to as West Campus, which is probably about 3 to 4 miles away from the main strip. Well, something occurred and the white folk rioted. They were having some type of event on High Street and something went awry and they cut up. I'm walking to my first job because, as you know, I worked several jobs to make it through school. So I'm walking to Sullivan Hall, where I ran study table for the football program. And I'm in this mass of people waiting across the street. And I see a television camera crew with a sister there. She is looking at the crowd and sifting through. And I can see her looking. I don't know what she's looking for, but she's looking for something or somebody. And when I got in her proximity, she grabbed me by the arm and said, let me interview you. Can you give me a soundbite? My brother. And I'm like, sure. So she says, what do you think about the riot that happened on campus? Because they burned shit down. Okay. Dumpster fires and frat houses. They did some serious damage. She asked me, what did I think about it? And how the police, no one was arrested. There was no police response to it. My response was, good thing they wasn't niggas, because they would have killed them. If this was the African American block party, they would have killed them. Not just arrested them, but killed them. Now, as a result of that, I became almost a local Black Columbus star, because people were like, yeah, somebody finally told the truth. Somebody had the nerve to, to tell the truth and blah, 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 blah. That was a sister who intentionally grabbed me. Out of everybody else that was walking, I'm talking about 500-600 people crossing at one time. I believe that white media outlets do the reverse. They seek one of us out who has the telltale physical signs of being ignorant, willfully ignorant. As Chris Rock said, nothing makes a nigga happier than to not know something. And they'll tell you, nigga, I don't know that shit. I believe they do that willfully. And if a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. So at the same time that they are so-called doing breaking news, they're also maligning and disrespecting Black folk and acting as if this is the personification of what Blackness actually is. So it's almost I wouldn't even call it a two for one. I would call it a 2,000 for one. The problem with that, and once again, as a man thinketh, so is he, is that image that goes across from there is so common and reinforces so much in this society that even Black folk believe that is what a Black man or a Black woman sounds like. And that's a problem for us. It really is. So the idea of the Black, especially, and we're dealing with Black males, the Black male image being inarticulate, being, just adorned with the uniform of the defeated. It has become in many ways a brand for far too many of our people. And I'll give you, and I'll end with this. This happened to me this week. I had to go back to work this week. So we have a week of meetings and what have you. We have a university, college, a division, and program meetings. So I've been in meetings. I was in meetings earlier today. As I'm walking to the university meeting at a central location, our freshmen are there, and one of the I guess one of the positives I could say is that this will be the largest freshman class that we've ever had. Black folk are sending their kids to HBCUs in droves. As I'm walking, and each student group is led, each building is led by a what we would refer to as an RA, a resident advisor, to make sure they don't get late, they don't get lost, and this and that, teach them the culture of the school. I see one group walking, and we're almost walking parallel. Man, they was listening to the most vulgar, ignorant, backwards hip hop in a boombox, as if they were walking with theme music, as if they were saying, "Hey, y'all, look here, yeah, we here, and we ignorant as fuck." That's the message you're getting the first week that you're here. You're setting the stage. And we've argued about this behind closed doors, X, Y, and Z, and the people who make the final decision have basically said, well, if we don't allow them to behave like that, they wouldn't come here. And I have a problem with that. You're at a university, a center for higher learning, and you're setting a deplorable standard. And as a result of setting such a deplorable standard, what you think I'm gonna deal with come week 2? I'm dealing with people who have already, before they arrive, been convinced of a negative image and brand of Blackness, and they're damn sure determined to continue it. Somebody has to step in and stop them. So I hope that answered the question, my brother. I yield.
Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. And we welcome Mayet to the program. Peace and blessings. Welcome. You know, and the thing about the interview, Doc, this dude was supposed to be a quote unquote activist that, you know, oh yeah, I'm for black people, da 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 da, da all that foolishness. You know, when I saw the Lean on Me, I was just recently watching it.
Joe Clark.
Interaction between Clark and his black supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched that and I said, wow, look at the two go back at it. You know, one is, yeah, I'm for my people 110%. You know, one, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. But you got to bring your behavior into line, you know, and it's like, you know, we'll show it.
That was Robert Guillaume, right?
Yes.
From Benson fact.
From Benson, that's right.
Yeah, interesting choice, but go ahead.
Well, I'm going to show that clip, and then we'll come back and discuss the nuances in it, because it gives it gives examples of black men. Let's look at it.
You see this yet? You know, all of your shit comes down on my head. Oh, Frank, look, let me talk. It's like you're a big bird with radar, and I'm tired of getting hit. Is this my fault? This is nothing. I've got union lawyers threatening me, and there's talk of a walkout.
Well, let them. They're not teaching anything down there anyway.
Then it's your job to do
Not
something
one
about
of
it.
them has a personal stake in that school, Frank. Not one.
The fire chief was just here. He says it's illegal to bar those doors. Mrs. Barrett is organizing a parents group to try to get you removed, since you insulted them at that meeting the other night when you suggested that they get off welfare.
Oh, I didn't mean
Because the fact is, quite a few of them need it.
I wasn't talking to all of them, Frank. Now, look, you came and recruited me, man. You disappoint me, brother. You disappoint me.
The disappointment here is you.
Me?
Yes.
Look, you know who I am. You know me 30 years. You knew what I would do. You know how
Nigga,
I
can you
operate.
keep quiet? The fact is, you're screwing up. You're alienating everybody. Look at you. You have no life. Your wife left you. I ought to walk out on you myself.
Well, go ahead. Bail hell on out.
But I said I would back you up.
That's what you said, Frank. That's what you said.
Brother, I will go through the fire with you. But you are not taking care of business. This shit you're pulling now, you're just going plain loco. And you suspend Darnell. What the hell was that?
Darnell is symptomatic of the disciplinary
He
problem
is
that
a
we're having in
good,
this entire
strong,
system.
young black teacher. So he dumped that desk right on top of your head. Well, right on. Good for him. You will reinstate that man, you hear? And then you fire Mrs. Elliott. Why? Because she didn't want to kiss your ass. Well, I wouldn't either. How about that?
Mrs. Elliott has an ego.
Yeah, well, you lost the best teacher we had. We couldn't get her back now if we wanted.
I don't have time for Mrs. Elliott's
Well,
problem.
you better make time.
We are being crucified by a process that is turning black into a permanent underclass here, Frank. A permanent underclass. No, see, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody. Mrs. Elliott's missionary zeal about Mozart has nothing to do with our problem. Nothing. What good is Mozart going to do a bunch of children who can't go out and get a job?
Joe, your personal battles are going to cost us the war. Worry about the test scores.
What the hell you think I'm worried about, Frank?
End of discussion. Debate is over. You will write a formal apology.
I will what?
A formal apology for your treatment of Mrs. Elliott and Darnell and for your vicious and thoughtless insult to the women of this community. You will kowtow. You will step and fetch.
Frank, if you think you can
Get
make me...
used to it. It's the way of the world. If you're so hot on discipline, then goddamn it, start by accepting mine. Because contrary to popular opinion, I'm the head nigger in charge. Come on, let's get something to eat.
You really think you bad, don't you?
All right. So there we have it. And we had two powerful black men, the principal, and then the, I guess he's over the school board, I guess. And the dynamic, Doc, between the two, and you know, they going back and forth, you know, the principal getting put in check now. And then, you know, even after he checked his friend, then it's like, come on, let's go get some meat. Break that down for us, that power dynamic right there in there.
You know, in many ways, that's probably one of the most common moments that you'll find within, especially within an educational institution. You have both of them are working towards the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
But each one of them has a different entity or person that they answer to. Robert Guillaume is answering directly to the public. He's the administrator that has to deal with the blowback of what Joe Carter is doing. Carter only has to deal with the blowback coming from Robert Guillaume. Okay, he doesn't have to, you know, he doesn't have to deal with the true blowback, because as you can hear Robert Guillaume, he's talking about case after case after case, issue after issue after issue. Yet they could remain to be brothers, which is more common than people would ever imagine. Looking from the outside, and I will use y'all favorite analogy, Robert Guillaume would be the house nigga. Okay. All right. Since y'all love Malcolm's historically incorrect metaphor. And Joe Clark would be the field nigga, the so-called field nigga. I look at them as almost a horse tandem, that if one is not doing his job, the other one can't do his job. But we as a people, we usually don't fashion it that way. And we seem to side heavily on the field nigga side, mm-hmm. and hate the house nigga. When they truly do, you need both of them to make this thing occur. Because Robert Guillaume is trying to keep Joe Clark in a position of power and saying, listen, I understand what you want to do. However, if you do this, you will not be here. And that's going to be damaging to all of us. So you have to do it a different way. In many ways, and this just this just came across my head, came across my mind. It's like me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you get rolling, and I'll tell you, I'll tell our audience a little something about our quote unquote private conversations in sort of production meetings. We used to get banned all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we got banned, I'll give the audience, if you could put a 1 in for Brother Maurice or a 2 in for me, who do you think said something that offended the goddamn cracker? Okay. Yeah, it feels good in the moment, but then the blowback is we're off for what, 2 weeks, a month. Yeah, you own it right there. We're banned. Okay. Even all the way down to I had to in every way train myself because I'm one of those that I don't like a lot of people to have access to me, this and that. I had to retrain myself that, thank you, Mellow Cat. I had to retrain myself to be more open to Facebook requests. Okay. I received a Facebook request from somebody I didn't know, but the last name was Muhammad. And then it dawned on me, he didn't went off somewhere and he didn't get banned again. But the brother got multiple identities and ID cards that he used to still get in the back door. Okay. It's that type of dynamic. And out of everything that was said about that movie, that is one of the most positive aspects of it, that you see cooperation, in the face of discord and disagreement amongst Black folk. And Black folk we rarely do that. Rarely. It should be we should be grown enough to agree to disagree about some things, but far too often we're not. And I yield, brother.
Definitely. So, Doc, when we're looking at it and just trying to advance the cause, because like Earth Angel said, that's a great interpretation of what we're fighting for and against. Joe Clark has his way about getting it, and we all know, we watched the movie, he spruced up the schools, they did pass their tests, but he had to break some eggs, to get everything cracking. You don't think egg breaking is necessary to get the thing cracking?
No, see, I don't have a problem with the egg breaking.
Mm-hmm.
What I have a problem with is the assertion that Joe Clark was able to get something significant done.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, Joe Clark, how can I say this? Joe Clark paves the way for, I guess, some semblance of physical safety. Yet at the exact same time, Joe Clark is paving the way for the dispensing, the accepting of a white school curriculum. And I guess that has some semblance of benefit for Black folk. But by and large, it's not what I would term liberating. I don't think it's liberating at all. I believe that what it is a yet another display by a black man who happens to be in power of pulling out the whip, in his case a bat, to almost beat these savages back in place. And that, for me, is not a good message, because it says so much about how black folk have to be treated to be able to succeed and get it, and why society in general has to beat black folk the way that they've beaten black folk. So yeah, those are my reservations, to be honest with you, with that entire Joe Clark brand. I don't see it in the same light that other people see it.
Interesting. Now, even though Joe did not have, I don't believe he had the knowledge like we have about, what really needs to be done. I think he believed that the educational system was a way to, get our people employed versus
he's an assimilationist and an integrationist, to be honest with you. That's what he is. And we have a educational system full of those, that if we could only get black folk to act better, if we could only get them to toe the line a little bit better, then we could be saved. And I guess we would suffer less. But there's no salvation going to be found there. You're talking about the need to attack and defeat a system. And I yield, brother.
Well, I'm going to share screen and show this next clip, because I got to let this dog outside before he go to the bathroom in my house. Okay.
We want to welcome Mr. Clark to Eastside. We've heard so much about you, and tell you what we have done in anticipation of your arrival. Ms. Levias, your other vice principal, and I have appointed an executive committee to oversee certain areas where we have noted a need for improvement. Mr. Zarella, for example—
You may sit down, Mr. O'Malley. You think you can run this school? If you could, then I wouldn't be here, would I? No one talks in my meetings. No one! You take out your pencils and write. I want the names of every hoodlum, drug dealer, and miscreant who's done nothing but take this place apart on my desk by noon today. Reverend Slappy. Yes, sir. You are now the chief custodian, Reverend Slappy. You will scour this building clean. Graffiti goes up, it's off the next day. Is that clear?
Yes, sir, the very next day.
Detention students can help you. Let them scrub this place for a while. And tear down those cages in the cafeteria. You treat them like animals, that's exactly how they'll behave. This is my new dean of security, Mr. William Wright. He will be my avenging angel as you teachers reclaim the halls. This is an institution of learning, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't control it, how can you teach? Discipline is not the enemy of enthusiasm. Mr. Zarella.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Zarella, you are now my new head football coach. Mr. Darnell. Stand up, Mr. Darnell. Mr. Darnell will be your assistant. You know why you're being demoted, Mr. Darnell? Because I'm sick and tired of our football team getting pushed all over the field. Thank you, sit down. I want precision. I want a weight program. And if you don't like it, Mr. Darnell, you can quit. Same goes for the rest of you. You've tried it your way for years, and your students can't even get past a minimum basic skills test. That means they can hardly read. They've given me less than 1 year, 1 school year to turn this place around, to get those test scores up, so the state will not take us over to perform the task which you have failed to do, to educate our children. Forget about the way it used to be. This is not a damn democracy. We are in a state of emergency, and my word is law. There's only one boss in this place, and that's me. The HNIC. Are there any questions? Mr. Wright?
All right. So there we had Joe getting everybody together. And, you know, as I was saying, that this brother was an activist. And I believe, Doc, when you come into an organization, especially a failing organization, you have to take charge. You know, I've said it a billion times that, you know, we are the ones that's on deck now. So we have to put order where there's disorder. And in this meeting that we just saw with Joe Clark putting order amongst his people, what's your thoughts about that? Would you agree that that's something that when you're coming in into an organization, and put it in mind, because I'm dealing with our people who are in these organizations that's about change, this, that, the other, you know, about our people, but at the end of the day, really ain't doing nothing because there's ineffective leadership, afraid to do what need to be done, afraid to say what need to be said, you know. And I believe that, you know, the person may not be a Malcolm X type individual, may not be a Minister Farrakhan type individual or Khalid Muhammad, but they can be a Joe Clark, you know, and get some things done. Get some changes. They can do things to get order in order to have proper motion. What's your thoughts on that in the clip that was just shown?
You know, anybody can go in and scream and holler and threaten people's jobs. You know, it's very easy to control poor people because poor people need their check to post. So, you know, berating them and doing whatever you want to do, yeah, you can do that. But effective leadership is not always discerned by force and anger and emotionalism and what have you. It begins with the idea of where do we want to end up at? If this is the goal, now we can reverse engineer it and we can basically say, well, what we have to do are these steps to get to this desired end game. That's taking control. If the way that things have been done has not resulted in the desired goal, and you have the same desired goal, well then yeah, you can come in and you can raise hell and you can whip them into shape. The end game for them was to get these kids to pass that standardized test and to quote unquote give them an opportunity to matriculate and advance educationally or even in their personal or professional lives. What do leadership for me is, what is your vision? And how do we arrange things so that we can achieve that vision? The taking charge part, you could take charge and lead them further astray in the wrong way. And I have some concerns about Joe Clark's leadership style. And I have some concerns about what the end game is, as we all should. When we're talking about Black education, if the end game is to go get a degree to go work for white folk, I got a problem with that. And I yield, brother.
But Doc, isn't when we look at that, don't we have to take what Joe Clark did, because he was successful in transforming the school, preventing the takeover?
Wait a minute. What's the measure of success?
The state didn't take over the school, and they passed their state testing. Okay,
I'm in a city right now whose local school district was just taken over. HISD, Houston Independent School District, was just taken over by the state. And the reason it was taken over is because Houston, Austin, and San Antonio are the three bastions of Democratic Party leadership here in Texas. So Greg Abbott actually, many people are alleging, I'll say it that way, are alleging that that's why it was taken over. That for me is not a sign of a progress, because all it means for me is that the school has fallen in line with teachings and educational policies that those who may not have their best interest at heart desire to see applied. I don't see that as necessarily a positive in and of itself, to be honest with you. So that's why I asked, what is that?
Mm-hmm. But just look at it in terms of where the school was before they recruited him and where the school was, after he finished his work. It became safer. They started passing their tests. Of course, he cleaned it up. So in those terms, in the regular, everyday, modern world terms, the school was successful. He did the job on that part.
Once again, I'm one of those. It's hard for me to give it to him like that, because although it's not the school's job, really what you've done is create a rest haven, a safe space for children to be able to relax. True leadership would have made a significant, monumental impact upon the entire community. Because those individuals that he ejected from their educational experience, where are they at? They're out there in the world trying to make it however they can, and they're out there thugging. If we can follow a logical course of thinking. So I just the bat and the uplifting and the creating of a new school song and all that is window dressing. For me, I don't see it as necessarily being that significant and that important, to be honest with you, because ultimately you've allowed them to possibly matriculate into another level of white controlled education, and Black liberation is never going to be an outgrowth of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I don't see Joe Clark or any of them leading to liberation, right? Because even in one of his parts that he was talking about, he was saying, they can hardly read. So because they can hardly read, they can't get a job. Yeah. So, again, that's not leading them to liberation. That's leading them to be a functionary member of society.
Yes.
Right. So, and I would assume, since I've never talked to him, but I would assume that was his way of same as Martin Luther King, making Black people to be functional members within the society, not leading towards liberation, not leading towards freedom, just being able to function as best as you could within this civilization that we're in, right? So even if we use that as the base, if that's exactly what it is, but we're looking at it, not saying that that's the model that's going to lead to freedom, but we're looking at it as the position of saying, okay, look, here's a man that did what he did, was successful with it, was outside the bounds of what they would call acceptable behavior, outside those bounds, but yet he still was able to bring order, discipline, and still get some things to go in the right direction for the rest of the kids that were there. We got to be honest. Not all of our people are going to fit in to the new society or the new reality that we're building. Some of them are going to have to get kicked the hell out. That's just the reality of it. And so with same thing with Clark. Some of those children in that school, he couldn't do nothing with. So they got to get the hell out of here. Because the greater good is the rest of the body that they can do something with. Right? So if we're looking at that part, not part about whether or not it's going to lead to liberation, because everybody that believes in the American way, they're never going to lead you outside of that role. So we're just looking at what he did within that system to be able to be successful, and how those who don't have the fortitude to be a Dr. Khalid Muhammad or to be a Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, don't have that type of oomph about them, but can use Joe Clark as an example of, to use that as an example. Well, hell, if Joe can do it doing that, I can follow that example. Because there was a brother who messaged me a few years ago on Facebook, and he said, Brother Muhammad, I want to follow you. I want to be with you. I want to roll with you. I want to join your group. And I was like, okay, go watch my videos on YouTube, then come back and talk to me after you watched a few to make sure. He went and watched and came back and was like, whoa, brother, you fire, I'm water. Look here, I'll watch you from afar and I'll support from afar. And I said, okay, I ain't got no problem with that. I understand. Because I understood, I ain't for everybody.
Yeah.
And it takes a certain type of individual to be able to roll with me, and learning that and understanding that. So the idea is, since they can't be like or don't have that oomph to be like a Malcolm or a Khalid or even a Marcus Garvey, they don't have that kind of oomph about them. They can look at Joe Clark and say, okay, I can do it that way. What's your thoughts on that?
I just think that characterization is kind of flawed. You're talking about them being able to do it the Joe Clark way. The Joe Clark way is extreme. I would argue the Joe Clark way is more extreme than what it is that you do. Carrying a bat, demeaning people, X, Y, and Z. I don't see that as sort of the other side of the coin in regards to having, as you used it, having that I think that there's another model of leadership that our people should spend a good piece of time looking at and considering, and it is quite simply being being part of the infrastructure of building something great behind the scenes. You know, you don't see true movement amongst Black folk without the development and the maintenance of institutions, be it one of these civil rights organizations, a fraternity, a sorority. We can go all the way down to an after-school program. You know, creating a service that mentors and guides Black children towards the next step of the educational process, so that they're not clueless and stepping out onto faith into a Black abyss needlessly. But I don't, you know, I see that as being the best that a person who is devoid of a public personality, the charisma that's needed, the quote unquote inspiration that's needed for Black folk to get Black folk moving and emotional. So I see Joe Clark as extreme, ineffectual and extreme. You know, I think that a brother or sister who comes up with a Black curriculum that's applied within their community is doing a greater job and a greater good than someone like Joe Clark would be doing, who's in many ways the hammer for white society to get these Negroes back in line.
So, I know you don't agree with. So let me put it this: how would you have done it, or how would you think it should have been done, since you disagree with Clark and his way of getting it done? Because
it's his methods, not necessarily the plan. I believe that there's a way that you come in and you create your team, and you create these working groups. It was not. To give you one example, I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it was beneficial for Clark to berate people in public. I believe that a better way of doing it would have been to create his very teams, his different teams, and on team one say, listen, this is what I need. I need someone who knows who as to use this term, the miscreants are within this school. I want a list so that we can start moving against them. Now, my police officer, check it out. This is going to be your job. This is going to be step 2 for you to extricate them and get them off of the campus. It's his methods that kind of rub me the wrong way, because it's giving people the misperception that people respond to tyranny better than they respond to the sharing and understanding of a plan and then the execution of that plan. Are you more motivated to get up and to go educate these children because you guys are building something, or does your motivation come from not wanting to get yelled at by Joe Clark? And that's just how I view it. It's not the problem with the cleaning up of the school. It's it's his methods of demeaning people, especially in public. You know, and I'm sure that a lot of that was a Hollywood effect and what have you. Because nowadays, if an educator went in and did that, I guarantee you that 80 to 90% of their teachers and administrators would walk out the door that day.
But you know, he only had a year to turn that thing around, right?
So why are we spending this time being emotional about it? Why don't we just develop a plan and put it together?
But he did have a plan. He came in there with his plan, and what he did.
It's not the absence of a plan. What I'm saying is the way the plan was kind of delivered to people. That's what my issue is, because I know I've worked under several presidents, and I'm telling you, you want to erode morale, do it the way that Joe Clark does it.
But you don't think, because the way I see it, right? Because I ain't gonna lie, I like Joe Clark.
I
And
know you do. I know you do.
like
That's your man.
I like how he got the place together, right? Now you say he demeaned people. Who did he demean? Who did he demean?
I would say he demeaned and denigrated the entire room. When he basically told them, look, when I'm talking, ain't nobody else talking, so shut the fuck up. When you come here, you take down notes because I know better than you. Okay? And let's be in the real world. Outside of a bunch of racial caricatures and stereotypes, how's it possible that Joe Clark knows better than the people who've been in that muck and mire on a daily basis? It is.
He could, but you got to remember, Doc, he did say this. He said, if you already knew what to do, I wouldn't be here.
Further to me.
They didn't know what to do.
No.
Joe Clark is there.
That's not true. That's not true. The truth of the matter is that, and this is sort of just one of my life principles about going to a new workplace, a new institution, what have you. This is just one of the things that I absolutely positively believe. And it is this, that if you go in, because you're not the first smart or observant Negro to ever arrive here. So when you come in, you need to get with somebody who knows what has happened before you arrived. Okay? To explain to you why things are the way that they are. I'll give you an example. There's a brother, and I actually hired this brother. Okay. We have a way that we order books and things like this. And we also recognize that in this generation, the majority of these kids are not readers. Okay, they don't have the patience for it. They don't have the interest in doing it, X, Y, and Z. So we made a collective decision that instead of utilizing books for our freshman classes, what we would do is we would use journal articles, something that's shorter, 15, 25 pages that they can actually engage and digest, comprehend, what have you. This brother comes in and says, no, that ain't the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be reading full monographs. This is a university. Now he didn't came in with all these ideas. Doesn't talk to anybody about it. Doesn't talk to me about it. I was coordinator at the time. Doesn't say a word. This idiot went out, and he has approximately 150 students in his classes, across his classes. He went and got a order sheet for books, because there's this book that they should read and this and that and blah, blah. And we all know ain't nobody gonna read it, but he hasn't shared that with us. He filled out the order form wrong. This Negro ordered 1,800 books. Now, our bookstore is independent, believe it or not. Okay. She gives a kickback apparently to the university. I don't know how they work that out. However, she done ordered 1,800 books under the guise that every student that's enrolled in history will be buying this book. He sold, I think, 13 of those books. So now they're sitting around wondering who's going to pay for these books. They tried to hold me to the fire because I'm coordinator. I'm like, oh, look at it. Wait a minute. Where's my signature at on there? It wasn't on there. Okay. And I know this is kind of a lengthy story, but they ended up taking his check for the last 4 months of his employment to pay for those books that he had ordered. And it all flowed from he knew better than everybody else when he walked in. So the idea that just because you're steeped in black bourgeoisie politics and what we need to do is get them to come on time, to get them to study, to get them to prepare them for this test and blah, blah, blah. You don't know the story of what has really happened here. Are you trying to tell me that the black educators who are there on a daily basis and have a relationship with those kids? Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be in such a situation. That you coming off the street know better than they do. You need to get somebody who has a lay of the land before you come in there with this rah, rah, rah. But the problem is that I see a lot of people who attempt to be Joe Clarks, and you don't even know what the problem is. You don't know why they writing in graffiti. You know, could it be the absence of an art program? You know, why is this happening? Could it be this? No, you run past all that because you know better than everybody else. And I just got a problem with that.
But Doc, we can't. At the end of the day, he came out right though. He came out winning. That's something that got to go along with it.
I don't see that as
winning.
I don't see that as winning.
But he improved. It didn't get worse.
By whose measure? By whose measure?
By everybody measure. It improved.
No. Now we're talking about a movie. Let's be clear about that. But by whose measure are we evaluating his improvement? Did he make it safer? Certainly. Did he remove the graffiti? Certainly. However,
and they passed the test. You can't leave that part out. They passed the test. The
so
state
you trying to tell me, as black-minded as you are, that you measure success by black children being able to pass a white test at the end of the day?
For his assignment, I measure what he was given,
so
what his task was, and was he able to complete it?
Let me revisit what I said earlier then, because I was wrong. Okay. Robert Guillaume is the field nigga, and Joe Clark is actually the house nigga.
No.
Who's been told by white folks, you take this bat and you go in here and you crack some nigga heads. Get them do what we can't do. Brother, I'm looking at you in a whole new light now. You on the side of the white man.
Joe Clark wasn't no house nigga.
Never thought I'd see him.
Joe Clark was in there and he did the job. He cleaned it up. He got the students to pass. He did what his assignment was. Now, again,
assigned by who? The white man.
I can't put him in a liberator's position because that wasn't his thing. He bought into the American dream, but did he improve the school? Yes. Did the children begin to pass the test? Yes. So he did all of these great things. It's just like Brother Robert said in one of his comments. Was James Evans hard on his family? Yes.
We ain't talking about James Evans. We ain't talking about being hard.
But that's what Joe Clark was. He was hard. He had a discipline and he enforced his discipline.
Did James Evans tell Michael, put that black shit down and conform to what white folks want you to be?
I didn't say put no black shit down.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. No, that's what it all boils down to.
He did not.
We need to get them ready so that they can enter white society. Come on, man.
He believed in the American dream, but he got.
And that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem right there.
Yeah, but again, we can't put him in a liberator's class when he was never part of that. We're just looking at what he did, whether or not that was good. Was he successful?
Okay, so what you're saying, because I like to be clear on what someone is saying.
Right.
What you're saying is that if a brother shows up and he has an assignment from white folk, which is what Joe Clark had, an assignment from white folk, and he fulfills that assignment, he should be celebrated.
No, what I'm saying is.
And what is you saying? You confusing me.
No, I'm about to clear it up because we're talking about a particular event. So if a brother is given a school that's out of control and there's violence and rape and all that stuff that was going on over there, and he's sent there to clean it up, so that the children, the good ones that are there, can go ahead, get that education pass and be productive. That's what we're talking about. We ain't talking about liberation. We're talking about just being able to do that. He did that. And I would have to say, you did a good job. You made it so that the other children there can learn and do
White
what they
world
need
supremacy.
to do. And then that's when it comes to us to do our part to take over and say, now let me give you your real education. But he was able
If
to
you
get them. He was able to get them.
If you took your radical black ass down there to East Side High, Joe Clark would have met you. He would have hit your black ass with the bat.
No.
Yes,
No.
he would have.
No.
You go down there and tell
so.
look at here, Maurice. What we trying to do is get these children so that they can pass this white test. Get on out of here with all that black shit you bring. That would have been what he said.
No, I know he wouldn't have said that because I've spoken at different schools, and none of those principals was anything like Joe Clark at all. They didn't resemble that at all. But yet they understood what I was saying and the points that I was making, and they still allowed me. Well, you come on in, and then now I got to be real because some did say. You can say everything except this. You can't say fake Jew. You can't say cracker. You can't say those things. But anything else, we can go with, because remember, we're talking with children. Then when I got to the high schools, the only thing they stopped me from saying is you can't talk about the Jews. Because we're going to lose funding. So don't talk about the Jews. You can say anything else you want to say, but just don't talk about the Jews.
Joe Clark would not have allowed your black ass inside of that school.
Oh, yeah, he would have. I believe he would have. I wish he was alive today because I'd have wrote him or called him and say, hey, look here. Would you have allowed me? Because I believe he would have. He understood. He understood that much.
Ain't no chance in hell your black ass getting up in here. That would have been unless you gonna clean up some of this graffiti. Start at the bottom, boy. Start at the bottom. That would have been what he told you. And your response would have been like, man, I went down there and this nigga here then said to me, that would have been what happened. And I'm telling you, that's what would have happened. So believe that shit you want to.
We're gonna watch this other clip because
is it Joe Clark again?
We got Joe Clark one more time. This is the last Joe Clark.
All right, man.
This is the last Joe Clark.
All right, put this house nigga up here.
What happened this morning is an outrage. My boy's no criminal. He and those children belong in school, not back out on the street. Our kids don't deserve this. Some of those children are smart. They're just discouraged about what chances they got out there. What kind of jobs they got waiting for them. Now what kind of chance do they have? He insulted the black football coach. The man's gone crazy. He's declared war on his own people.
I remind you, Miss Barrett, that Mr. Clark was nice enough to come to this emergency meeting after a very trying day.
That's what he gets paid for.
I think we owe him a chance to respond. Oh,
They say one bad apple spoils the bunch. Well, what about 300? Rotten to the core. Now, you're right, Mrs. Barrett. This is a war. It's a war to save 2,700 other students, most of whom don't have the basic skills to pass the state exam. Now, if you want to help us find, sit down with your kids and make them study at night. Go get your farmers off welfare.
Dare you talk to these people
Give
about
our children some pride. Let them get their priorities straight. When Dr. Napier came to me offering this job, I saw the lightning flash. I heard the thunder roll. I felt breakers crashing, swamping my soul.
We are not in church, Mr. Clark.
I fell down on my knees and I cried, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And the Lord said, Joe, you know damn good. I mean this. More than you realize. You're no earthly good at all unless you take this opportunity and do whatever you have to. And he didn't say, Joe, be polite. Do whatever you have to transform and transmogrify this school into a special place where the hearts and souls and minds of the young can rise, where they can grow tall and blossom out from under the shadows of the past, where the minds of the young are set free. And I gave my word to God. And that's why I threw those bastards out. And that's all I'm going to say.
So there we have my man Joe. And like that's why I threw them bastards out, and that's all I gonna say. So
fuck Joe Clark.
See there, Doc.
I mean, if it was a white man saying that, what would be your response?
The white man ain't got no place to say that. He's the architect of the whole damn problem. He's the architect of every problem that we face.
Well, this is his assistant then. That's all I'm saying. No, come on, man. That idea that you got to demean black folk, black parents, and what have you. Come on, man.
What did he say? What did he say that was demeaning?
He got to talking about welfare and all that, man. Come on, man. How you know them people on welfare?
Because some of them were.
some of them, not all of them. I don't disagree, and you know I don't disagree with the idea of the efforts to go forward and to straighten up Black America, the community, the educational systems, the business sector, and what have you. I'm all for that. Okay. However, Joe Clark's methods, although some people are for some reason think that it's going to be effective, it's not going to be effective. You know, the only thing that is going to get us out of this situation that we are in is information, education, and the learning how to apply these things and to be able to do the ordinary at a extraordinarily reliable and rapid rate. That's what it is. All he doing is trying to get them to pass a standardized test. Are we that bad off that we got to celebrate somebody trying to get us to learn how to read?
When you got institutions that are graduating children from high school and they can't even read their diploma, that's a problem, and that's reality.
I don't disagree with that. You know what I do for a living, so you know I see the back end of that. But what I'm saying is that I don't see the need for any adoration for someone who is not really creating. He's it'll sound strange to say this, but from my perspective, I don't see him as being a boots on the ground type of person in regards to aiming. And I guess a part of it for me is that my lens always, its natural setting is the idea of Black liberation. And he's not seeking Black liberation. He's seeking reformism to sort of get us, and maybe that's a role, that there is a role for that, to get us to go a little bit further down down the road of conforming with white folks, so we can at least become stabilized and hopefully use that as a springboard to go forward. That's all I can get.
You got to remember, because what he had to deal with the savage, right? And so in order to deal with the savage, you can't be, oh, please this and please that. No, they don't understand that. It takes strong law to get them where they need to be. So in order, because if there's no person to civilize them, then when they get to you, you can't do a damn thing with them, because now you got to go back and try to civilize when it should have already taken place. So you need somebody in there to be a Joe Clark to make sure that they get civilized, make sure that they get what they need. So when they make it to you, you don't have to be worried about doing that. You can take them to the level that you got to take them on. But if they don't have that Clark, that Joe Clark, and their savages, you can kiss the whole thing goodbye.
No, you don't learn how to be in an educational institution. You learn how to be at home. And if that home foundation, if you have not learned how to, and that's a term I use, how to be, somewhere along the way, you learned how to be in a classroom, to behave, to act. Joe Clark ain't giving you that. That comes from home.
But that comes from home. But they wasn't getting it at home.
If they're not getting it at home, you have nothing to reinforce at the school.
But he did. That's the thing is, we can't not look at his results like the results didn't happen. He actually transformed it. That's something that
you looking. Speaking of reality, you and Brother Maurice are looking at a Hollywood depiction of black.
No, this is actual facts. The record states he actually did these things.
Written by Joe Clark and the white folk who agree with you two Negroes. I'm on the verge of calling y'all house niggas. I'm on the verge. Y'all keep pushing me. Look here. Like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 said, don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
Nah.
Twin Pyramid, I know Joe cared. Okay, yeah. Okay. That's nice. Joe cared. Hell, I care too.
Joe was doing this thing. And it's like this. Because there has to be that civilizing agent that's there. We got to be 100. Because even these days, a lot of these children that are in school are off the hook, and the teachers can't control them. There's no control at home. Somebody got to be able to say, stop. We're going to stop the madness, and this is the discipline that we're imposing, and you're going to follow it or else, in order to get the best out. See, what Joe Clark, I think it was Earth Angel, that said it, that he loved them. And he really did. He loved them children. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Joe Clark loved them children.
When did he fall in love with these children?
I think he even when he first started teaching. You can see he was in the elementary school principal before they brought him over there. And I'm looking for the comment.
I know you're looking for your quote. I'm gonna lay back until you find your quote. Go ahead. Go ahead. Find your quote.
See, well, I can't find it now.
He's an on-time God.
Yeah, but here we go. He was leading by example, carried a big stick, and he was. And Deacon say Joe represented the essence of B1 whoop ass. You got that right. We're going to whoop enough ass and everybody going to get in line and do right. Brother Willis, I concur with you, Brother Maurice. You have to put your foot down sometime to get the results. That was Brother Willie. He said you got to put your foot down sometime to get the results. You know,
that sounds like they come from a brother named Willie. You know, I don't disagree with having to put your foot down. My disagreement is his methods of doing that. That you know, hey, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Brother Robert said Musa improved white folks' condition. Brother Willie say B1 again.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Earth Angel, right? You do all that shit at home, but not here.
Yeah, but see, for me, that's the problem. That you know, we're looking to the wrong people to serve as socializing agents for our children. And it's one of the rules, you know, as an educator, we all pretty much are graduating from similar institutions. Okay. My colleagues that I was at Ohio State with, we're from community colleges all the way up to universities. It's just what it is. So it's not necessarily the educators that are at the front of those classrooms that are making the difference. It is the materials that they're given to work with. You know, do we have what is the percentage of parents at a underperforming school who are even attending parent-teacher conferences? What's the percentage of parents who are enforcing doing homework with their children? What's the percentage? Because one of the things that we know for sure is that a lack of preparation often begets a lack of preparation within our families. It becomes almost a generational curse. Who in that house is helping those children do their homework? Who's capable of helping those children do their homework? Who is so financially strapped that they just expect their children or hope their children are going to do the correct thing in regards to their preparation for a school day, in preparation for, you know, and those all, and that's really, I'm really clowning Joe Clark, but I recognize that that's really the power center of Blackness. The power center of any race is, you know, the building block for every great race is the family. Right. And we have to have functioning families, and to look to educators to be sort of the socializing or civilizing agent, the word that you used, as if they're a beast, is wrongheaded, because educators are there to basically educate these children, nothing more and nothing less. And so if we have to rely upon an outside agent outside of our homes to teach our children how to be, especially using a bat to do so, we're in really bad shape, really, really bad shape. If that's what it's come down to, that, you know, well, they'll conform, so, you know, so to speak, when they're in Joe Clark's presence, but when they come home, you know, there's no structure there. There's no reinforcing of anything. That to me seems like the recipe for disaster, if I'm being honest.
But you know, Doc, that is the reality. Because even if we can remember in the movie, he even had to go to, you know, one of the students' house, because he remembered her. He used to have her when she was in elementary school, you know, and she was like, oh yeah, that's Mr. Clark, and he don't play, you know. And so when she was doing bad, and he was like, what's wrong? You know, like, my mama don't want me no more. You know, so he goes to the house to say, you know, what the hell's going on? You know, And the mama come out and I've been on drugs and I'm trying to get back to see me, to be, and I don't want her to see me, like this, and he had to jail that family. And I'm quite sure, he had to do that to more and more and more, because teachers these days, y'all got more than one hat on. You're a teacher, you're a counselor, you're a provider, you got all these different hats on, because it's like they get on out of the house and go to school and be over there. So give me 6 to 8 hours where you out of my hair, instead of like it was back in the day. It's a new day with that. So because we're in a new day, a new type of a family unit that's being produced, we gotta have those Joe Clarks that's going to enforce what's right at the school, so that we can have a better position and our children will be able to learn. Now, on this, another clip that I want to show is not Joe Clark, though.
Praise the Lord.
We offer Joe Clark.
It better not be Joe Biden either.
No, it ain't no, damn sure ain't no damn Joe Biden. But this is another figure that just laid it out. So let's share screen and look at this one, because now I want to remind everybody that we're showing these examples because you got to be able to deal with the enemy. Whether that they come and put a microphone in your face, you got to have an example of what that looks like. And sometimes dealing with us, you got to speak straight words. You got to give tough love. You got to give tough talk. So let's watch and see.
You. And I have nothing more to say. You got something to do. Get up off your ass and get it done.
Now I'm going to let
this
it play
is no
again.
joke. And if we don't clean this crap up now, it will fulfill what's in the Bible. You will see blood up to the horse's bridle. And the book says, those of you who love the shedding of blood, he's going to give you your own blood to drink, and you'll be drunk with your own blood, as with sweet wine. You playing with a God that want to save you, and you are angering him. So if you anger him, he'll turn this bastard loose on you. And that's why I'm here, man. It ain't about no damn television. It's about saving your life, because you are going to die in a few days if you don't get this damn thing together. I've said it all. And I have warned you. And I have nothing more to say. You got something to do. Get up off your ass and get it done. This is no joke. And if...
So there you have it, the minister.
Yeah.
And he even threw down the mic. He even threw down the mic. Get up off your ass and get it done. Now, there's another example. A black man talking to us. And I guess, will we call that berating what the minister just said? Would that be berating to them?
No, I wouldn't consider that berating at all. I would consider that to be a almost a marksman's assassin-like precision, expressing to the entirety of Black America to get up off of your ass because you got some work to do. We got some things that need to be done. And what I even with the Joe Clark thing, what I'm saying is, don't put that weight upon outsiders, people outside of your home. You got something to do, and it is in many ways to get your home in order, to raise your children properly. That's what I'm talking about. This entirety of taking personal responsibility for you and yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's what needs to happen. This idea of a educational savior. And thank God in Joe Clark's in Lean on Me, they utilized Joe Clark, a black man, to be the savior. But if you look at some of these other expressions of a educational savior coming, you see a white female who, as one comedian put it, he said at some point she's gonna put a do-rag on and she's gonna start breakdancing to embarrass all of white America. Mm-hmm. This is a homegrown issue that we need to deal with at home. And mm-hmm. if we have a situation where we have parents who are unable, unwilling, incapable of raising their children, we need a mechanism within Black America to seize those children and raise them within loving Black homes, mm-hmm. without the hands, the touch, or the influence of a foster care system where our children get lost. Mm. We got to take care of our own. And that's just really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. We're going to welcome Norma X. Peace and blessings. Welcome to the program. You know, and all
Norma X. This has been a hell of a show. We didn't have a couple brothers that we thought was field niggas reveal themselves as house niggas. Okay, and it ain't the usual suspects. Trust me. Okay, mm-hmm. They've been up in here skinning and grinning. Okay, they done been exposed.
You got two examples, and we got to be able, you know, it's all about making sure that they have a role model, because we're dealing with an enemy that goes out to create disasters. Now, when you know the kind of enemy that does that, and we're going to deal with Hurricane Katrina, because that was something I can remember sitting at home, looking at it on the TV, watching MSNBC, and the reporter says, "Oh, there's some large explosions that just took place. Boom, boom." And I heard it on TV. Boom, boom. And he was like, it must be a power thing that was exploding. Next thing you know, all this water just started coming out of nowhere. They blew the levees like they did back in, I think, 1920s or something like that, where they blew the levees. Mm-hmm. Now, when they go out and blow the levees, knowing the disaster it's going to create, knowing that Black people is going to be at the other end of that water. Mm-hmm. See, this is the enemy that you got to be able to stand up to. So I'm going to play this clip, and so it can bring up a reminder in our minds of who we're dealing with.
Next weekend is the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina barreling into the Gulf Coast. New Orleans' levee system could not protect the city, and 682 were killed, many in their homes. As the waters rose, there were many desperate calls for help. Some have never been heard until now. Mark Strassman now with some of the people who made those calls and those who answered.
When the levees burst, 911 calls poured in with the floodwater.
102. I need someone down here, ma'am. I'm gonna die in this attic.
This one from 2544 DeBriel Street.
The water is steady rising in the attic, ma'am. And I'm gonna drown in the attic. And I'm 37 years old.
Operator Paula Massey took that call. Now retired, she's still living in New Orleans.
What's it like to hear that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, and it brings back memories. And it was nothing that I can do to help the lady get out of her attic.
Katrina's winds and water were too dangerous to send emergency crews.
You just wonder what happened. What was the end result?
She's alive, living in Texas.
Great. Great.
What could you hear in people's voices?
Fear. Terror.
Operator Tina Berry Doyle spent 12 hours on the phone that night.
Could you imagine getting a call where someone is saying that they're trapped, there's no way out, and just stay on the phone with me because I know this is it.
And how did you handle that?
I prayed. It's kind of hard to talk about.
I really thought somebody was coming.
Sontel Rush called 911 from this home in the city's lower 9th Ward. From that same attic, we played for her that call for help.
I'm stuck in an egg, and me and my little sister and them and my mama, and they got water in the whole house.
By the second night, I just was like, we're gonna die in here.
An uncle rescued them after 3 days without food or water. Lakeview was also underwater. Sue Daniel called 911 from her attic.
My mother and I, we stranded in the attic, and she's a diabetic.
I realized after I got off the phone that I was going to be the help.
Daniel put her 79-year-old diabetic mother on an air mattress and swam for safety across this road to the roof of this shed.
And how long did you spend on that roof?
26 hours. We were there overnight.
You hear it over and over on these 911 calls. People were on their own.
Pray for me, help. Oh, sir, I will pray. I will have to pray for everybody, even myself.
A man named John Ference made that last call. He survived, but at least 3 of his neighbors did not. Nora, what you hear time and again on both ends of those 911 conversations is a feeling of helplessness.
All right, Mark Strassman there in a musical New Orleans today.
Tonight, an I-Team exclusive, new video and information on the men who claim to have set up vigilante patrols in Algiers Point. Did the West Bank turn into the Wild West in the days following Hurricane Katrina?
Let's go to WDSU News Channel 6 reporter Travers Mackel with the I-Team investigation you'll see only on 6. Travers?
Well, Norman, we talked to the victim of a vigilante shooting as well as neighbors over here in Algiers Point. Many of them tell us that in the days following Hurricane Katrina, some men felt compelled to take matters into their own hands. Algiers Point was a mess after Hurricane Katrina hit the area. You can see in this home video, trees were down, power out, but no flooding. Kathy Carmack never evacuated. She stayed in her home on Belleville Street the entire time. Here she is, sitting on her porch in home video taken before power was restored to the city.
It was horrific. To me, it was.
Kathy says, making matters worse, the local militia who set up shop to defend the area.
Well, you hear gunshots. You see them running down Belleville Street with their rifles and their guns after somebody. I mean, it was like a 24/7 parole by them because there was nobody here at that time. There wasn't any army, police, or anything.
One of the men Kathy says patrolled the point, this man, Paul Gleason, her neighbor, who spoke out 12 days after the storm hit.
Did you have any problems with looters?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But you did.
They're all dead.
What happened?
We shot them.
How many people you shoot?
38.
38 people. What did you do with the bodies? You take them to?
Gave them to the Coast Guard. With a cup of red wine in one hand and riding a tractor from Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras world, Gleason told his story to Esteban Balog and Michael Orsini, 2 cops from Pennsylvania who came to New Orleans to help provide security after the storm.
I got a sense that he wanted to tell somebody his activities. This is what happened. This is how bad it was. The emotion that he was talking with was it was live or die, and I had to do what I had to do.
Oh,
I tried to shoot to put him down. We didn't try to shoot and kill.
Oh, okay. So did you
killed a number of them.
How many did you kill roughly?
Cares. Matter.
Yeah, I hear you.
It doesn't matter. They chose to die. They chose to commit suicide. They opened up on us, so we fired back.
It makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach to even, hear that guy talking about how many people they shot, killed, and,
One man shot in the days after Hurricane Katrina is Donnell Harrington. He shows the scars from a gunshot wound to the back. Harrington says he was in Algiers Point a few days after the storm when a vigilante fired at him with a shotgun.
We was just walking through the neighborhood.
Harrington says he was not looting or causing any problems.
You know, that was just an opportunity for them to, you know, to do just what they did, you know, for their own personal reasons.
Harrington couldn't say for sure if Gleason was the man who shot him.
The only thing I remember him saying is a bunch of, you know, racial slangs, using the N-word and just, you know.
After being shot, Harrington went for help and ended up at West Jefferson Medical Center.
Basically, most of the individuals that stayed back, they all felt the same way, that they will protect their property with any force necessary.
Kathy points to signs like this made by Gleason.
Where he had big boards, signs that you'll be shot if you cross this path and things like that.
So we asked her, could her neighbor, Paul Gleason, kill?
If he was drunk, yeah. Because that made him feel like, God, I hate to say that. But, yeah, I think so. That's just me personally. Yes, I do. I do.
So you're probably wondering what happened to Paul Gleason. Well, you can hear clearly in that tape he has an accent. He said he's Irish. We talked to his ex-wife. She told us in the weeks after Hurricane Katrina, after an altercation over here in Algiers Point, Paul Gleason was deported back to the United Kingdom. His ex-wife also told us she doesn't believe much of what he said. She says her ex-husband, Paul Gleason, had a very wild imagination. For now, we're on your side live in Algiers Point. I'm Travers Mackel, WDSU News Channel 6.
Well, the FBI now has that videotape where Paul Gleason says he shot 38 people. If you'd like to see the entire unedited interview with Paul Gleason after Hurricane Katrina, log on to WDSU.com.
It was clear, he specifically said for us to shoot looters.
A New Orleans police captain is breaking his silence tonight about what he says really happened in the chaotic days following Hurricane Katrina. We begin this evening with an I-team investigation. As we near the 5th anniversary of the storm, a high-ranking member of the NOPD is revealing information about a special meeting involving the department's top brass and an order that was handed down shortly after the storm.
WDSU I-team investigative reporter Travers Mackel is live with a story you will only see on 6.
Rachel, in the days following Hurricane Katrina, when most of the city was underwater, many high-ranking members in the New Orleans Police Department were called to a meeting at the shuttered Harris Casino downtown, and they were told by the man in charge to shoot looters. Now, one person at that meeting is speaking out. Captain Harry Mendoza currently runs the police department's training academy. Mendoza and at least one other officer at that meeting both say then Deputy Superintendent Warren Riley, the man who would go on to become police chief in New Orleans, gave an order to everyone at the meeting that they were taking the streets back. The message, do what you have to do.
Chief Riley, at that time, called together all the people that we had collectively were involved in our operation there and made an announcement to that entire group where he instructed the members of the New Orleans Police Department that on this day, he was initiating that we begin to shoot looters in the city of New Orleans, that he was ordering us to take the street back and to start shooting looters that day. When questioned about that specific order, his response was, if you can sleep with it, I'm ordering it done.
Mendoza says it's an order he refused to give. Warren Riley's attorney says the former superintendent knows about the situation, and if called to testify in court, he will answer the appropriate questions at the appropriate time. So what does this mean for the numerous federal investigations into the NOPD? Will it serve as a defense for the officers charged with murder and attempted murder? And what else is Mendoza saying about this meeting? We're working on that part of this developing story, and we'll have the answers for you tonight at 10. Rachel?
Thanks, Travers. In an effort to achieve full transparency, new Police Superintendent Ronald Surpass gave Mendoza and any other high-ranking officer at that meeting permission to discuss what was said. Mendoza and Riley have a history of conflict that culminated with Mendoza's termination from the force in 2006, shortly after Riley became superintendent. Riley says he fired Mendoza after he caught him playing tennis and lifting weights while on the clock. Mendoza denied the charge and challenged the firing Federal and state courts, along with the city's Civil Service Commission, ruled in favor of Mendoza, who was reinstated to the force back in 2008.
Give me that beat, so.
All right, so there we have it. And you can see that no matter whether it is a vigilante that will go out there and do his thing. Hold on one second. No matter whether it is a vigilante that will go out and do their thing to kill our people, no matter whether it's the city government, the state government, they're still the enemy, and they have declared that they don't give a damn about making sure Black people are killed. Very clear that they don't give a damn about our lives, our children's lives. I mean, damn, you go blow up the damn levees. You trying to kill thousands of people and don't even give a damn. See, this is the beast that you got to deal with. That's why we say justice ain't no diplomatic language. You can't talk to him, yes or no, yes. You know, well, my man, my buddy. You know, Doc, you watch these interactions our people have with the police, and some of them call the police brother. And you talking to a white man, brother, man, why you do that to me? Why you do that to me? Cracker said, I ain't your brother. And you should have seen the look on his face when he said that. I ain't your brother. But it's like we're lost in a time warp, because they show you officer friendly on the TV, and when you out here in the street, you think you coming across officer friendly, and you meeting that savage beast. And trust and believe that news reporter, when them crackers throw that microphone in your face, they ain't your friend. They not your buddy. They're working for their buddies, their family. Doc, what do you think about that? About Katrina, them blowing up the levees, knowing that it's going to cause the death of thousands, knowing.
You know, I was here when I've been in Houston for now a little over 20 years. So I was here when Katrina occurred. And so I remember being in Houston as they came from down I-10, and all of the multi, and I'm just dealing with Black folk, all of the cascade of issues that followed New Orleanians into Houston, from their children going to school, to housing, to just in many ways, just too many people with far too few resources coming together. You ever had a situation where there's so much you can say that you don't even know where to start in regards to that? That's Katrina for me. And above and beyond Ike, above and beyond all the other natural disasters, Katrina was different. It impacted and affected everyone. Do I believe that they blew the levees? I think that it's really, I wasn't there, but I think it's beyond likely, into the realm of probably probable. In its microcosm, it was one of the most concentrated displays of how hated Black people are throughout this nation. Because at the moment where they really needed help, and these are quote unquote Yes, Deacon, reality it was. When your neighbors, if you had any compassion, you had any concern, any concept of community, needed aid and help, everyone turned their back on Black folk and poor folk in New Orleans, because Louisiana is a different beast when you begin to talk about even racial identity, especially New Orleans. New Orleans is, where you want to talk about to give a city a moniker. It wouldn't be a stretch to refer to New Orleans as the colorism capital of the world, because colorism means a lot to New Orleanians, and and also the crime. That it is a city where, and many of the locals of New Orleans said this, they're never going to allow anything to happen to that French Quarter, because that's where their money comes in from the tourism. But the poverty outside of the French Quarter in certain areas is frightening. I know 4 or 5 people who have gone there on vacation and were literally murdered in New Orleans. So it's not, the French Quarter is not New Orleans and what have you. So it was a different time, all the way from what was going over in the Astrodome to just general daily life. I remember, and I'll end with this story. I was going to the gas station, getting gas, and Katrina was full blown. It had occurred and what have you. And you know how you come across a person, and it might be their appearance, it might be how they say it, why, the way they say it, their diction, but you can kind of pick up someone who's sincere and it's not a con. I'm going into the gas station, and there was a Black lady there with her daughter. Her daughter looked like she might have been 9 or 10 years old. And she was asking everyone who went in something. And I didn't know what it was. I figured it was monetarily associated. And when I get up there and I'm going in, and all the people just passed by her, like she was nothing, like she wasn't saying anything. And I stopped and I listened to her. And she basically said to me that her and her daughter were stuck in Houston, and that was their car. And they had family on the other side of San Antonio somewhere. And she just needed enough gas money to make it there. That they were completely out of money. They didn't have money for hotels. They didn't have it, And I'm like, so how much do you need? And she said, probably $60 to $80. And so I ended up giving her like $200. And her gratitude, was just off the chart for me. And I'm like, how could all of these people walk past this, what looked like a church lady, and none of y'all cared to even stop to hear what she was saying? We were in crisis mode, but that crisis mode seemed to make us more individualistic, more uncaring and concerned about others. And that's, a horrible, it's a horrible, to be honest with you, Katrina's a horrible memory for me. A horrible memory. Okay, I yield, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc. And it is. Number X says that off topic, but it's really not off topic. The Black military man who ran 200 miles an hour to North Korea just stated why. He said because of America's racism, he'd rather die than return to that place.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me of something James Baldwin said when the first time he went to Europe. Baldwin shared that he had less than $20 in his pocket when he got there, but he was assured that there was nothing that could happen to him in Europe, being that poor, that hadn't already been done to him in America.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And then Brother Robert says, yeah, they blew the levees up in 65 in New Orleans for Hurricane Betsy too. All those black people are not lying. You know, I was in Nashville when Hurricane Katrina happened. And I remember
y'all were impacted by it, and you in Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time, I was the district manager of a security company. And so my officers were down at DHS. We was, had security people there. And the busload from New Orleans came in. And our guards was like, what's going on? Because they were being escorted by guards with guns. So they called me thinking that they're being replaced on their post because some other security people showed up with guns. So I'm like, well, okay, I'm on my way down there. So I jump in my car, drive down there, and I'm talking with their CEO. I'm like, what's going on? He was like, no, these people from Hurricane Katrina. And so they're coming up here to get, services and stuff. So I said, so why are they under armed guard? And he was like, well, I don't know. We were just hired to, be the armed guards. We escort them anywhere that they got to go. They go, on these buses and, we keep it tight and straight. They ain't going to cause no trouble. Ain't no trouble going to be caused. But, if something break out, we got the right to shoot. I'm like, what the fuck? So I start passing out business cards, letting them know I can hire you on the spot, because we're unarmed. So, you don't have to have a license or nothing like that. And we were needing officers anyway. So I'm just passing out cards. The next damn day, me and the owner of the company get called down to the Capitol because now they want to talk about why I'm passing out these cards to the Hurricane Katrina refugees. That's what they were calling them, refugees.
Refugees, yeah.
And so the owner talked to me, and he was like, "Look, Maurice, I need you to do me a favor. Don't be yourself when we get in here. Don't be yourself, because we could lose this whole contract. They can shut me down totally." He's like, "You my brother, and I got you. You know it. You done said this to these people, and I've always had your back. I'm just asking you, when you go in here, don't be yourself. Please don't be yourself. I've never asked you this before, but I'm asking you now, don't be yourself." So I'm like, okay, no problem. I got you. I'm cool. We walk in, get to the office area, and the receptionist is like, have a seat. We're sitting there, and he's nervous, Doc. I mean, I could see him. He's shaking. He's nervous. So, evidently they had a phone call, talk before they said come in. But he ain't letting me in on everything that they said, but he just let me know, we could lose everything. So, chill out. So we get in the office, and, we're sitting in front of his desk, and he's like, and so you're the one that's passing out these cards to the refugees. And I said, well, we were hiring, so it's easier for me to go ahead and give them a job than for the state to put them on welfare or whatever and let them try to meander their way when I could pay them, we could pay them a good salary to come work for us. This is what's best. And he's like, nobody told you to pass out no card. Nobody told you that, and you need to stay in your place. Oh, Doc. That cracker told me that. Bill grabbed my hand because just to let me, remind me, be cool, because it was like, how dare you? You better stay in your place. And nobody tell you to pass out no car. Nobody tell you to help them. They the refugees, and they're going to do what we decide for them to do. And Doc, I swear to God, I held my tongue, but I didn't like it. I did not like it. I felt like this cracker ripped the heart out of me, because I wanted to respond, but, dude was holding my hand, Bill was holding my hand, to say, hold it. You promised that you was going to hold it. You was going to keep it, but oh my God, Doc, that shit hurt my feelings so bad. I swear to God, that hurt me so deeply that I couldn't, and feeling that, I still feel that. You know what I mean? I still feel that I couldn't respond to that cracker the way I wanted to respond. That hurt me deep. And it still bothers me to this day. And we should never, ever be in a position that we gotta take something like that. I want us to be able to say what need to be said and to do what need to be done regardless of who it is, because they are the architects of our demise. They are the architect of our demise. And we should never let them off the hook. Never let them off the hook.
Yeah, but it's the what you're describing is in many ways a microcosm of why it's so important for Black folk to develop political economic power, because poor people, the powerless, really can't talk shit to power because the consequences are so disastrous. And that's just a fact of living, being Black and poor in a capitalist nation. There's sometimes that you're going to have to just sit down and you're going to have to take it in the face. And that's a horrible situation to be in, because any prideful person, and I'm not even talking about the racial implication, but a prideful person, the most important thing to us at a certain level is the ability to look in a mirror and stare at that person in the mirror and know that they kept their pride and their dignity regardless of what was swimming around them, and to be talked to in such a reckless, demeaning way by those who are, I'll just say it the way I feel like saying it, those who are inferior to you, is something that you don't really recover from. And it sticks with you. And, when you look at the gentleman out of all jazz musicians that is the best known of all time, it's not Duke Ellington, it's not John Coltrane, and it damn sure ain't Kenny G. It's Louis Armstrong, okay, patron saint of jazz. The guys that would play with Louis Armstrong all said this about him. They said, in between sets, you had to watch him because he would disappear. And when it was time to go back on for the next set, where the hell is Louis at? And one of his bandmates said, I had played with him for years. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna see where he goes. And he said, I followed him literally out of the building. He left the entire building, went down a hill and sat on the edge of some railroad tracks. And he said, I thought maybe he might be praying or what have you, thinking about music. He said, but when it became time for us to go back on the next set, I thought I was being, considerate by going and telling him, yo, Louis, we on. He says, I go down there, and he says, before I could even reach him, I could hear he was crying. A deep crying, a sob crying. And he said, he tried to console him or whatever it was. He said, I had no idea what it was. He said, years later, Louis Armstrong told him, he said, I hate every time I got to get up on that stage and clown for these white folk. All of that daddy, said he hated it because he knew that he had to entertain these white folk because they were the ones with the money. And he needed to get that money for him, his family, and his bandmates and their dependents. Being oppressed and poor in a rich nation is excruciating because over time it robs you of even your sense of who you are and what you'll stand for. And if you're not careful, you become available to be purchased or at least rented for the right price. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Bob Johnson. I don't care if you're as they refer to these two stereotypical names, Pookie and Ray Ray. You got to do what James Baldwin talks about and entitled one of his books. You got to go meet the man. If you want to succeed in this society, you got to go and meet the man and find out what the man's demands are upon you. And one of the things that we rarely talk about with Black men, and the idea of not being gainfully employed, of being depressed, of being incarcerated, is that so much of that is directly traceable back to the system of white world supremacy. And there's some brothers who, on the front end, has said, you know what, I can't do that shit. I can't go down there for them to demean me and talk to me. I don't want to carry that load in my soul to the end of time. And they, in many ways, kind of check out. Now, this society will malign them and will talk about all these other things about Black men not having a work ethic, not having a blah, 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 blah. No, some Black men just have too much pride and dignity to even engage your fucking system. And some of our children have too much pride to engage your system. Just really what it is. There's no yin and yang to it. There's no depth to it. That's the truth. Too much pride. Paul Mooney would say that often when they would ask him about why he didn't blow up and why he's not more involved with Hollywood. He said, I got too much pride to do that shit. And they know it. And there's an element of them that, because truthfully, they can kind of force you to do whatever it is they want you to do. But they want to break you in the process, demean you, so that even if the words are not being said and you're in their presence, you know that they feel that they broke you. And that's a horrible position to be in for a prideful Black man. And I yield, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc. That is definitely a horrible, horrible, horrible position. And that's one thing that, our enemy prides himself on is to be able to break the black man. Because if he continues, he breaks the black man, he has no rival, no competition, nobody to stand up to dethrone him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they try to make it each and every time to make you bow down to them. But we have to understand that our days of bowing down to them is over. That's over. That's said and done. That's a wrap. They are, as Mayat said, they are a world problem.
Yeah.
They are a world problem. So, you know, it is definitely, for me, goddamn the white man, goddamn America, and goddamn Europe, and goddamn every part of the planet that they are on until they are ran off the planet, until they are taken off. And that's our stance. As what's his name? Don Rumsfeld, when he was the over the Defense Department, Secretary of Defense. He said, there's few words you'll never hear me say. Good and lasting peace. There will never be peace.
Mm-hmm.
Never. Never be peace. So if he know it, why you don't know that being with them will never be peace?
Mm-hmm.
It's not in their nature.
Mm-hmm.
Consistent war after war after. Look, there's no black person on this planet lived or used to live have ever started a world war. It's always them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a World War I, World War II, about to be a World War III.
Mm-hmm.
Them.
Well, and then the thing is once again going back to what we were talking about previously. Who's going to be in the front line of that war? It's going to be poor folk, regardless of race. Poor folk. You know, you don't have. I believe it was Michael Moore. I know it was Michael Moore, who in one of his films went up on Capitol Hill and just stopped, you know, our elected officials and asked them if they had a child that was fighting in the war that they just sanctioned.
Mm-hmm.
And the looks and the reaction that they had was, are you fucking crazy? My child ain't fighting in no damn war.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people who agreed to go to war.
Right.
You know, and it takes us back to what we were just talking about. The idea that if you are poor in a rich nation, you look here, what wouldn't you do to feed your children? You may very well have to go to a foreign land and kill folk who don't look like you to feed your children. You gotta remember that the idea of the black participation in World War I, World War II, and really every war, very little of that flowed from an idea of nationalism, of patriotism. It flowed from the fact that we need a check, and so we're going to fight to get that check. It ain't, you know, and anyone who serves in the military will tell you during conflict, they ain't talking about no damn patriotism. They're fighting for the guy to their left and the guy to their right. But for black folk, that check has always mattered because we've always been economically marginalized. And even those of us who have so-called made it, yeah, you've only made it as long as they allow you to make it. Look at Kanye. Look at these black billionaires that many people in the entertainment industry that are holding up as success stories. Every last one of them got that wealth predicated upon some association with a white entity.
Mm-hmm.
That's who pays them. They are not beholden to you because you don't pay them. You can't pull hundreds of millions of dollars out of their account. Jay-Z could go broke. Let him get into it with the right white person. He could go broke after they finish talking about how him and B ain't paid taxes because they ain't what? Aware of the new loopholes that have been created. Oh, they can take your money, take your fame. You know, hell, Rick James was rich at one time, stripped of it. And I yield, brother.
Most definitely. And you know, Doc, their Pentagon generals have been rumbling that they want to restart the draft because Biden called up 3,000 troops and they're already reservists, and their numbers are already low, that, you know, they're not making their recruiting goals. So they're talking about now reinstituting the draft. And, you know, that's something that our people have to think about and learn to be able to tell them, crackers, I ain't going. I'm not going. I'm not going to no other foreign country to fight you, to fight for you when my fight is right here, when we're still being killed right here. We don't get the rights that we should get, but you want to send us to some foreign battlefield to fight and die for your cause. Well, who fights and dies for ours?
Well, you know, like Malcolm once used the phraseology, you're a 20th century chump. Okay. If you don't go, what are the repercussions? And the repercussions are going to be ostracism from the white world, which really, when you boil it down to its very last compound, means quite simply, you'll never work again. And because we are a people who don't have a reliable mechanism to employ what could best be termed our hardcore unemployables, you sunk. And that's just really what it comes down to. You will be sunk financially. You'll never work again in this nation. And so once again, you know, you're going to have to take it in the face. If you want to have any future in the white man's society, you're going to have to do his bidding. That's why it's imperative for you to do something, any fucking thing, for yourself and those who are coming after you. Do something. Do something for yourself.
Exactly. You better learn to say the words, you're a conscientious objector. You don't.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, but even in dealing with that, it reminds me of the idea of meritorious manumission. Whereas if you did something, there were certain things that could occur that would secure your freedom. If you save the master's family, if they got sick, and you come up with something to be able, almost an escape clause. One of the most reliable ways of getting meritorious manumission was to put a fire out. If the smokehouse caught on fire and you were Johnny on the spot and you put it out, they may let you go free. If you went down to the church and called the Holy Ghost, and you were therefore a Christian, you would go free. Until the white folk realized that a whole bunch of smokehouses was catching on fire and a whole bunch of black folk were catching the Holy Ghost down at the church. So they tied that exit off. That'll be their strategy for being a conscientious objector. We'll say, well, the Constitution says, blah, 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 blah. Well, we changed it solely to get you. So much of what happens to black folk in this nation, so much of the punitive things that happen, they're merely rules. They're rules that the majority have created, what Lonnie Lanier referred to as the tyranny of the majority. That is the plight of black folk. And the fear of white folk is that the tyranny of the majority will be applied to them by Mexicans and brown people who are flooding in this nation. Because they're going to change the rules. And when they change the rules, they're going to change the rules in a harsh and punitive way towards everybody else. And I yield, brother.
That's something. That is truly something. I know this, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said, that this World War III will be the last war. America will not win this war, that they will go away in the thousands and return in the tens. He said that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught him. So I would definitely recommend you learn how to tell your quote unquote ex-slave master to go to hell, that you're not going to go fight for somebody else's freedom and you don't have your own.
Yeah.
Now, when I was in there, and when I was in there and they were getting ready to go to Iraq, and a lot of the brothers who went to Iraq the first time, and they was like, fuck that. Look here. He say, load up them goddamn Humvees. I'm loading up my car and I'm getting the hell up out of here.
Yeah.
You got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. What's your life worth?
Mm-hmm.
Because going to go fight for somebody who don't give a damn about you. And look here. They call you nigger right here. What do you think they're going to call you over there? You still that same old nigga.
Yeah, but the American, I remember almost having a fight in a subway of all places with some ex-military guys. And one of them had on one of those Wounded Warrior shirts. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, I would never support no shit like that, man. And they all immediately got mad. Well, you don't know what we've done and how we come back here. I said, my problem with it is not with you guys. My problem with it is, why would you go serve a government in a nation that you have been maimed and permanently injured from, and they don't take care of you when you get back?
Mm-hmm.
That's the height of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of them was like, well, those are the rules. I said, well, change the fucking rules. The people who made those rules should be voted out, because there is no way that you should be expected to go there and lose limbs and what have you, and come back here and everything ain't fucking free.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them were like, you know what? I never thought about it from that end. I said, yeah, because your whiteness and your patriotism, your blind patriotism, it blinds you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it comes down to. And I mean, if you're looking at it reasonably, if they're doing that to white folk, oh, wait till they get a load of you. They're going to do even less for you. And that's what it comes down to, and hey, the Lord will provide. And that's what it comes down to, going over there and get all fucked up. And when you come back and they throw 3,000 reams of paper at you and say, well, you need to get anything, we got to start with this paperwork.
Exactly.
And that's what it comes down to,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, there has to come a moment where self-preservation becomes at least one of your top 10 priorities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I remember when they had came back from the Iraq war, and they were having symptoms. They were sick, and a lot of them, they would come to finance to try to get some money. And, we had to tell them, the United States government does not recognize your sickness, your Gulf illness, as being something that's real. So there's no special pay, there's no nothing that you're going to receive, because they don't recognize it, that it's a real deal, that you're actually going through something. But they know they was dropping bombs with uranium in it, and knowing that you was going to feel the side effects from it, but they want to act like you're faking. They want to turn their head. The same thing like they did in Vietnam War, when they were dropping the Agent Orange and didn't want to compensate the soldiers.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that, and this is one of my things that, and dealing with me for so many years, I always ask who's them and who's they. And the fact of the matter is you could be talking about 10 people sitting in a room that just said, we ain't gonna pay them. And that's the rule. That's the final decision. These 10 people, maybe 5, maybe 2. No, we ain't honoring that. That's gonna cost too much. And it ain't that they don't have the money. They have the money. They just ain't gonna take care of you with it. Thank you for your service, but you get nothing as a result of this. Right now I'm writing about the Longview race riot. It was the second race riot that happened in the post-World War I era during the 1919 Red Summer. These people are out of their mind. White folk are addicted to the idea of whiteness. In the Longview race riot, of course, it was over a racial matter of a white woman and a black man who were apparently in love with each other, having consensual relations, and the white folk went crazy about it. So you have, and this is sort of my running thing. You got to pick a struggle. Pick a struggle. Now if your struggle is going to be in the lane of racial hatred and what have you, that's your struggle. And stick to it. But you can't have 4 or 5 different struggles going on at the exact same time. You're going to fail. Because many of those struggles are going to conflict with the others. So if they reinstate the draft, you're going to see, people who, what was the exit, the exemption for being subject to the draft? I think it was you had to be a collegian.
Yeah,
And if that becomes what it is, they're going to sweep the streets clean of brothers, and probably amend the age limit in regards to who they can take. You're looking up, you 50 years old and you didn't get drafted.
Yeah, that's why you better learn to say no. For real. You better learn to say no. You better learn that when they send you greetings, tell them take it, go to hell. Ain't no way in the world. I mean, just think about it. You going over there to Ukraine, and you gonna fight for them, knowing how they treated the Africans over there, was whooping on them and doing all that stuff to them, and calling them nigger. And you gonna have your happy ass over on the plane, over on the ship, to get over there to fight for their freedom, while they calling you nigger. You better wake up. You better wake up to the reality. If they want to be free, then that's their fight to fight, not yours. Yours is right here in these United States of America. That's where your fight is. When Malcolm said that, and Muhammad Ali said that, white man, the yellow man ain't never called me nigga.
Yeah.
And the statement was so true then.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
But see, it takes courage. Muhammad Ali paid a price.
Yeah. Yeah. He lost the prime years of his boxing career behind that. Yeah. It's going to be a price.
Yeah. He paid that price.
Yeah.
But he came out and he recaptured his title and did some other great things. Don't let that price punk you to make you do something that you should not do. Don't let it break you. Don't let it do that. You know what the right thing is. Do what the right thing is. Tell them no, go on, this ain't my war. This ain't my fight.
Yeah, but the ability to say that signifies, as it always does, a understanding of what your fight is. And that's why it's so crucial and critical for us to have these spaces where we are illuminating the minds and what should be the proper priorities of our people. It takes me back to the 1980s Nancy Reagan Just Say No to Drug campaign. You can teach them all day you want to say, just say no to something. But the more effective and influential and powerful position is quite simply, what do you want them to say yes to? And that's where we have to really get our people to understand what are the priorities. What do you say yes to?
Definitely. I know when I've told this story many times when I got out the military, I got out because I was done. Went AWOL. That's a federal crime right there.
What made you arrive at the point that you were done? What happened? Was it something that happened? What was the?
Yeah, we were over in Somalia, and this is right when America got her ass kicked over there. And the Muslims, you hear the call of prayer, and so you stop and pray. And so I'm hearing the call of prayer. Now I'm not out there with Ed. I'm in the rear, right? I hear the call of prayer. I stop and I'm praying. And my NCOIC, Sergeant Sanders didn't like it. And so, we had some words back and forth. We get back to America, and he's like, "I'm never taking you on an assignment with me again." And I'm like, "Fuck it, I don't need to go. I'm fine right here. You can leave me right here. I don't need to go for you anyway." And then it was just this back and forth. They were, go move these bleachers, go do this, go do that. And it's like, if a gnat or anything smaller put a morsel of bread off your table, you don't have the power to tell the gnat to bring it back. What the hell do I look like as a black man listening to your cracker ass tell me to go move some bleachers? And that was it. They didn't have no more power and control over me. I took back my power, and that was like, fuck it, I'm out of here. So I went AWOL. Then we were discussing, how I was going to get away because I wasn't going to jail. And then it was like, all right, well, fuck, since we can't go and hide and run and do all this is what we're going to do. We're going to go up there and we're going to tell them to let me free or we'll kill them all. It's just that simple. We'll kill them all. Fuck it. That's where it was going to be. And, that was our decision. That was our decision. It was me, Brother Keith, Brother Roberto, and Justine. And we got in the car, drove up there on base, and walked into the 101st Finance Battalion, and they were in a staff meeting. So you had the colonels, the captains, everybody, first sergeant. And we walked up in there, Doc, and they looking like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this nigga? Because they knew I was radical. They just by the way I was, and to show up with the confidence that we showed up with, that no, I'm not going to jail, y'all. This is it. You either let me free or we gonna kill you. And we ain't had no guns or nothing. But our determination was we gonna fight to the death, period, point blank. We're gonna kill half of y'all before they get us. And the colonel called me into the meeting. It was like, well, what's going on? What is this about? And I said, you ain't got no authority over me no more. You let me go or we'll kill you all. And he was like, what? You gonna just throw away your career? I mean, your record is good. You in AWOL, but you can do your time and you still get out with an honorable discharge. I was like, no, y'all need to get me out of here as the fast as you can. He said, fast as we can get you out of here is 3 days, and it be with an other than honorable discharge. I said, I'll take it. I ain't doing no extra duty. I ain't doing shit. Let me free. And they said, all right. But we were serious when we said that we would kill them. We were serious that my time was up. I was going to be free. I ain't doing no extra duty. I ain't going no jail. I ain't doing none of that. And the first sergeant was like, this is the United States Army. Who you come here telling us? And I said, see, that's what's going to get you killed because I ain't playing. You don't have no authority over me. They called the military police. They came and looked and said, I don't see no problem, and got back in their car and left. When I saw that, I knew God was with us. I knew he was with us. So ain't no way I'm not going to be stepping weak. I'm going to step strong. And, you know, as we were driving off the base, Justine said to me, you know, you just gave away all your benefits. And I said to her, if Allah does not give me a benefit, there's no benefit that this cracker could ever give me. And I swear to God, from that day to now, I have never needed anything where I had to rely on what my designation was when I got out the Army on other than honorable discharge. I ain't had to worry about it. They said, oh, you wasn't going to be able to do this. You ain't going to be able to do shit. No, God gave me the victory. And I walk in that victory. Ain't a damn thing that stopped me from doing what I need to get done. Nothing. And it's that kind of walk, that kind of victory that's waiting for us to just take. I didn't ask the cracker for my freedom. I didn't plead with the cracker for my freedom. I took my freedom. And that's what it's about. We got to take what we want. We take what we want. It's our time now. All right, Doc, we done went way over. We 46. Ooh, boy, I'm sorry. We could go. We could move to closing comments. Doc, but let me ask you this, and you can put this in your closing comments, because I believe, and you know, we'll do a program on it, but this Maui fire that happened, you know, I believe that was a man-caused disaster with the fire.
Yeah, they're saying that they have footage that is indicating that it was electrical wires.
Yeah, and they're saying that the owners of the land are coming in trying to buy up the land so that they can, you know, redo it and all that, get the original owners out.
Oh yeah,
and all this, you know, that see, that's Satan.
Yeah,
that's Satan. And it's like, what more does it take for you to open your eyes and see the real deal? Because they were successful at it, doing it to black us. So yeah, they'll take it to Maui and do the same damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is who we dealing with. This is who we dealing with. Doc, what do you think it's going to take, in your closing comments? What do you think it's going to take for our people, the everyday average Joe and Jim, Pookie and Ray Ray out there, to wake up and see the damn thing as it is?
You know, what I'll say to that is what I always say. It is independent black education that is needed. You know, you need to be put just in the same way that the military during boot camp takes individuals and breaks them down to the point where when they reemerge, many of them are so patriotic and their loyalty is to defending the nation, regardless of what that means, regardless of if it means them losing their lives. We need a not orientation, but an indoctrination program that convinces our people of that same thing. Now, when you look at the harsh reality, and this is one of the worst things about the American educational experience. If you look at the colonization of Africans, there's a very stark demonstration of what's really going on. The reason that Idris Elba is a black Brit is because his people were colonized by Britain. And they would take the best of them, take them over to Britain, educate them, then send them back to administrate the colony. That in many ways is what's occurring within Black America as well. But what blurs it and muddies it is the fact that you have a situation where you're not leaving the mainland. you're going to a college or a university that is going to indoctrinate you with certain priorities, certain ways of looking at the world. And not many of them are Black, unless you're in a good Black studies program. Okay. The demarcation point for us and what will it take, I don't know. Because with all the hell that Black folk have been through, we know that death is not sufficient to get Black folk to open their eyes and to rally together. Not even death, which is in many ways startling. What you're seeing in Maui happened in the South Carolina Sea Islands, where white folk have gone in there and for decades tried to purchase the land of the quote unquote Gullah people so that they can put resorts there. They can do all of those different types of things there. What's happening in Maui, and I hope that the Hawaiians, and it's always different. We all think at some level and some point, because we recognize our true intentions, and our intentions are not being negative. But sometimes it's us that's a part, and I'm speaking about Maui right now. Sometimes it's even us that lead to some negative things happening upon others' ancestral homelands. Because what's going to occur is that these people, meaning these vultures, are going to swoop in and offer these people all kinds of money. They're going to build a resort, and lo and behold, all of us will be going to Maui to sit there and enjoy the peace of being in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, enjoying a quote unquote cool drink and a cooler breeze. I hope those people fight tooth and nail to prevent that from happening. I really do. And I hope that the example that they're going to show should be the example that our people follow. And many of our people actually do follow that example. Many of the Gullah people have refused to sell their land. They don't want to hear anything about you purchasing their land. It's not for sale. I was born here. I'm going to die here. I'm going to turn into dust here. That's the strident position that you must have. You have to begin to, a people who are a so-called Christian people, like our people, we got to begin to apply biblical principles to our lives. And one of the principles is, quite simply, don't fall for little trinkets, the materialistic trinkets, a purse, a gold chain, what have you, that white folk are going to dangle in front of you. Don't fall for that and sell land, your birthright, so you can put something on your body and walk around with it outside. That's not a semblance of power. So what will it take as a closing comment? I don't know, because I've seen them burn our people. I've seen them rape our women. I've seen them rape men. I've seen them lynch our people, arrange the courts in documents so that our people get the shaft, and it's obvious that we're getting the shaft. I've seen them lock us up publicly with harsher sentences than they do their own people. And you got to remember that the crack cocaine thing was, lock them up, opioids. That's a crisis. And as Richard Pryor put it, so expertly, he said, when you hear him say epidemic, that means white folk doing it. So what will it take? I don't know. And a part of the reason I don't know is that I've yet to see a full generation of Black folk who have not been subjugated to the teachings and the knowledge, the quote unquote knowledge of white folk that greatly affects their priorities. I would love to see it. I hope I see it before I go, so that I can leave this world a very happy man. And I yield, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc. And I just want to read 2 comments. Mayat says that if the people don't leave or sell, the vultures will cause a tsunami to make sure they leave, even if that's in the casket.
I would agree with that. And it's one of the one of the most pivotal moments in world history was when Christopher Columbus landed, and came across, and he landed in Santo Domingo, and he comes across this group of very peaceful individuals known as the Arawak. Okay. The Arawak were so excited to see Columbus and his men that they literally dove into the ocean, swam out to the boats to welcome them. If I could have advised the Arawak, I would have said, let them get on land and then kill every one of them.
Mm.
And that very well may be what the Hawaiian people have to do. So if you ain't Hawaiian and you're over there, even with the idea of you causing any semblance of trouble, I believe they should slay you to protect their own, to protect their, because if you're not careful, Hawaiians ain't gonna be welcome in Hawaii.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Just like black folk ain't welcome in the inner city no more.
Exactly.
They come in, they take what they want. They take what's convenient for them. And you can sit up and you can rah-rah and rabble-rouse all you want to. They have the power. And they have the policymakers to change the rules to increase that power.
Exactly. Exactly. And then Maya also had quoted Malcolm, said that Malcolm said, there is no forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. X said, they know cause they're the experts. They are the experts.
I mean, to advance an argument that they don't know what they're doing would be the equivalent of saying they create a mega Powerball where you got to get 10,000, if not 100,000 numbers correct to win. And they win the motherfucker every time. They know what they're doing. There's no doubt about that. And the thing is that not only do they know what they're doing, it's all they've ever done throughout the annals of time. There's nothing, there's no moment that you can point to where they haven't caused some type of chaos and distrust and destruction. Even the individual that is the white patron saint for black folk, our hope in white folk, John Brown. John Brown is best known for sparking off the U.S. Civil War. So even in John Brown's righteousness, he was causing trouble and discord. Even though it worked in our benefit, he was still a rabble rouser and a troublemaker. It is inside of the DNA. It is inside of the mindset that there is no room or no consideration within them for good enough is good enough.
Exactly. And Norma X says, our people act like someone's nature can be changed with hope.
Yeah, I mean, I love that quote, because when you're talking about nature, you're talking about God ordained. You can't turn away from that.
That's right.
You can, if your nature says one thing, even a drug addiction ain't gonna change your nature. It's just what it is. You're born to be what you are. And all of this hand holding and all of this, hey, that ain't, I wouldn't rely on it.
That's right. And Norman says the only way you show hyenas that they can't fuck with you is by fighting back. Hey, it is what it is. We watch a lot of these YouTube videos and what have you. And I know you're familiar with this sister. I've actually heard her say your name, the Crimson Cure. Her thing on back foot hyenas
it kills me. I laugh and I laugh as if I'm listening to Richard Pryor, because the sister is telling the truth. You know, when she says, you know, today we barbecuing hind feet. I'm just like, oh, she on the hyenas again.
Most definitely. You know, this is, we're in a situation, and you know, bowing down to them, praying to them, loving them is not going to get us out of it. You know, we're going to have to fight our way out of it. Period. Point blank.
Well, certainly.
Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. That is the white right. That is the right way to fight our way out of it. You know,
yes, it is.
Definitely. And so, family, we done hit the 3-hour marker. We was only supposed to have been on for 2. We done went on for an extra hour. We thank you all for staying with us. We thank you for participating, and we ask you all, please share the videos. Like, subscribe, drop a comment in there, help us get our numbers up, share the video, push them out, so that we can arouse the consciousness of our people, so that we can get them on the right track to do the right things when the right time comes. Because everybody got a fight. There is no such thing as I'm gonna wait on the sidelines till y'all finish. No, baby, there's a fight for you. We got to fight on every battlefield. So ain't no sideline that you're gonna be sitting down and let somebody else do the fighting for you. Get your ass into this fight and you fight. Period. Point blank. That's what it is. That's what it is. Anything else you want to add, Doc?
You know what? No, not really, man. Love you all, and you know, be safe out there. You know, protect, you know, your physical body, your mind, and your spirit. You know, and realize that just as we have a physical food diet that we nourish our bodies, or some of us are destroying our bodies with, you also have an intellectual diet that you should be paying more attention to. Guard what you consume. Guard what you allow to go into your mind, because it will certainly impact you. And I'm speaking from experience. Even this week, I happened to be at a store, just walking around, browsing, killing some time, and Destiny's Child's song came on. You trifling, good for nothing type of brother, you know. And I will not lie. As I'm browsing through, I was at Kroger's. Okay, I was singing that shit. You know, and then I caught myself. I said, "What the fuck am I singing?" You know, and I'm like, even in Kroger's, my mind is under attack. You know, so protect yourself, protect all, and love each other enough to protect them as well, and also realize that you are an agent of change. That's right. That it does matter. You got to remember what Huey P. Newton said. He said to move one grain of sand is to change the world. So let's keep changing the world in our best interest.
That's right.
Not a you.
Thank you, Doc. And as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm gonna kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
So you better get the message and get it straight. You're gonna need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.